There we go. I think you're still muted though, champ. There we go.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
How's it
Uh,
going? How's it going?
Good,
What's
good.
going on, champ?
Not much. Not much. Just sitting here vibing. Good week for the defenders. Good week for the defenders. We had a home playoff game.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, hopefully. I'm fingers crossed that maybe the three of us will make it there. We're still trying to work all that out, but that's the dream, right? So I would love to be able to catch a football game with you guys, especially Defenders one. We're gonna get into Carol's thoughts about going to his, I believe, very first Defenders game, right? Carol, you didn't.
First defenders game, first time at Audi Field.
Nice. So I will get all of Carol's thoughts on that. I will obviously get Champ's analysis of it. I'm just going to quickly go over the score and how how the scoring went in that game, just so people who may have missed it are up to date on that. So it was on Sunday. It was a noon start time. The first score was a field goal by the Arlington the Renegades. And so then DC came back down. We got a touchdown with a 2-point conversion failed. So we took a 3-point lead there. Lucky Jackson, 14-yard pass from Tamu. 2-point pass conversion failed. So now it's 3-12. The Renegades get a 25-yard touchdown pass. Their 2-point run conversion failed. So they were still down 3. Then a touchdown, 6-yard pass from King, and then a pass from King to Ferguson for the 2-point conversion. So finally, a 2-point conversion was made to go up by 11 going into halftime. So that was about 46 seconds left in the first half. In the third quarter, only one scoring play. A DJ Swearinger, a former commander, 62-yard interception return, or 2-point run conversion failed. So they go up by a score of 26-9, and it seemingly is over. And Carol reports that we've started to even do the wave, which I believe is the biggest, jinxiest thing you can do in modern sports. And then after the wave, they get a 1-yard touchdown with a 2-point run conversion failed to make it 26-15. Then they score a touchdown with 1 minute and 20 seconds left, a 1-yard run. And then the 2-yard conversion was converted to make it a 3-point game. Then they converted on the 4th and 15 try. They get down the field. They think that they finally get off the field, but then they throw the challenge flag because the announcer was like, throw the challenge flag, find something, because there's always holding or whatever on every play. Sure enough, they found the holding, continued the drive, and they were able to score a 27-yard field goal with 5 seconds left to make it 26-all. Then it goes to overtime. And in overtime, it's like the shootout. I'll remind our fans. So there's 3 opportunities for a 2-point try for each team. And DC converts on one of those, and they hold the Renegades to 0 for 3 in their tries. Carol, I'll start with you. What was the atmosphere like? What were your thoughts on when things were going well, and then when things were falling off? Did you believe that they were still going to gut it out, or were you nervous in overtime? Tell me everything.
Well, it was a great experience to get there. The seats that we had were a great field level. We were in the corner when got there in the beginning of the half. They were coming towards me, so I got some good footage that I haven't had a chance to put together yet. Been a crazy day. The atmosphere was, lovely as always. Whenever I've been out to events, first time at Audi Field, first time at Defenders game. Excuse me. Thank you. First time, the atmosphere was great. The fans I caught the Metro in. Everybody was ready. That the Nats fans and the Defenders fans, with both games going on pretty much at the same time. Like I said, great atmosphere. To see the beer snake grow in person was a epic thing. I looked over; it was halfway up. Next thing I looked, it was all the way up. Throughout the game, the Defenders pretty much had control of it. I mean, looking at the numbers, that's what when I was going over the numbers today, it surprised me how the Renegades outgained them on paper, but watching the game, the defenders had felt like had the control of the game until the fourth quarter. And on that challenge, I didn't know I was there. I thought it was, change of possession. And then after, the challenge, they came and said that it was a holding or whatever, 5-yard penalty. So, we were a little upset as a fan. There were some questionable things that could have been, not called, that were called, that weren't getting called in the first half. So it was kind of frustrating to see things come down with the influence of the referee and some of the plays not going the defender's way, but ultimately at the end with their overtime. A lot of folks didn't know the overtime rules. I posted it, the rules while we were at the game, and that is a unique situation. 2-point conversion 3 times. I don't have a problem with it. Some folks didn't like it, but it was the way the game ended. And on that Swearinger pick 6, on a side note, I was getting ready to film that play. I was in prime position, and my girlfriend had me go meet one of her ex-coworkers, and I had to put my phone down. And as we're walking up to meet them, I hear the pick 6 and the crowd roar, and I could just drop my head and be like, wow.
At the pick and not have it on documented and not get it. So, but anyway,
Still hurts, man. It still hurts.
I'm sure that it does. Were you nervous in the overtime situation? Do you think we had it? How is your feeling on that?
Honestly, because I didn't know the rules. By the time I read the board and read what the rules were, then I could understand it. And then when we got it, then when I finally realized what the rules were, we scored ours, and I was like, all right, just hold them, and then we win, and they did, and we won. So I didn't even have a chance to get worried because I didn't even know the overtime rules until I think they've only had 4 overtime games this whole season throughout the league. So I wasn't even sure what the rules were until I read the scoreboard when they put the rules up there, and I'm like, huh, that's different. And by the time, like I said, I read it, the first 2 times it already went by the wayside, and it was 0-0, and the defenders got theirs and they missed their next one. So, hey, it was celebration. We won and solidified home field for the semifinal game in the playoffs.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I know last week there was 2 overtime games.
Yeah, I think there was 2 last week and there was 1 this week along with our game. So I think it's only been 4 the whole season. They didn't have any until last week.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think we're the only one this week. So I think it's just been the 3.
Oh, I thought it was an overtime game this week too. No, I thought it was who was it?
No, that game ended in regulation. There was a 2-point game, but it wasn't an overtime game.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a Roughnecks with the OT.
Yeah, no. According to nope. Yeah, no. Last week, but anyway. So yeah, only 3rd time ever. And I know you were super busy last week, but I did go over the that, and so hopefully people who are podcast fans of ours understood the rules going into it. So I appreciated the understanding level of it. I think it was a cool way to do it. It's kind of a hybrid of the NHL and the college game. Champ, I know you got to check it out a little bit this morning. What were some of your thoughts on the game?
Right. So this was a very unique game for the defenders because they had established their offensive identity as a running team, yet it was the pass game that ultimately won them this game against the Renegades. Yes, they also did have DJ Swearinger, welcome back to DC, with the big pick 6. And what was funny about that pick 6 was they had some all access, and Coach Bob Stoops was admonishing the running back for trying to do a double move when that wasn't the route. And so he told the quarterback that wasn't your fault. That was his fault because he did a double move when the play was not a double move. And the quarterback was doing what he was supposed to do, which was throwing it at that spot. But homie wanted to go do an out and up. And that left homie like just exposed. And DJ just had an easy pitch and catch for it to go the other way. So I kind of found that a little bit funny to me that Bob Stoops admonished the wide receiver for running the wrong route, leading to that pick 6 touchdown. But the defenders had 7 total offensive drives in this game, and they scored touchdowns on 3 of those 7 offensive drives. And again, the passing game was the big catalyst here with Te'amu having 2 touchdown passes. He did have the interception. De'Aaron King also had an interception. But in the grand scheme of things, though, the team played pretty well in this one. Outside of the 2 interceptions that they threw, the running game was pretty much stopped. They had 50 total yards on 20 carries, so that's not a very good. That's not very good for a team that's known for being a running team and leading the league in rushing. And Lucky Jackson, I mean, his first name has got to mean something because he only had 2 catches. Those 2 catches happen to be touchdown passes. But I think that what was really exciting, though, was I got nervous when the Renegades converted that 4th and long after getting that score, and I got a little bit nervous. But then when the defenders were able to hold them to just tying the ball game and then going into the overtime and getting the 1 2-point conversion successful attempt, whereas Renegades couldn't get one. And I think that was a big thing. And I think that the defenders really needed this because now they're guaranteed that when it's the division game in a couple of weeks, it will be at Audi Field, which is one of the rowdiest stadiums and one of the rowdiest fan bases in the XFL. Whoever comes out of the North Division after the defenders, they're going to have a tough time coming into DC and dealing with that crowd because it's going to be a hell of a time. And I think that with this team now being able to pass the ball as effectively as they were able to run the ball, they're going to be really hard to beat, honestly.
Yeah. So real quickly, I do want to talk about who they're going to play. So this week, an important game that was right after ours is between the Sea Dragons and the Battlehawks. If the Battlehawks had won that at home, they would have clinched the 2nd spot. The Sea Dragons came in and they gave them quite a match from the get-go. It was a really interesting battle, back and forth game. But ultimately, in the 4th quarter, the Sea Dragons were able to pull away for a huge victory because now it sets it up where the Battlehawks play the Guardians, the worst team in one division, and the Sea Dragons play the Vipers, the worst team in the other division. And if the Sea Dragon basically if they both win, it may come down to total points, I believe, or it might be actually, I'm not sure if it's total points or if it's the plus minus, points for, versus points against. But either way, I know that the Sea Dragons were trying to run up the score on the Battlehawks because they knew that the points were going to matter if they both end in the same spot. So,
Robbie, I have the tiebreakers I'm looking at the tiebreakers right now.
right.
If it's between 2 teams, it's 8 ways they're going to break the tie, depending on how it goes down. Head-to-head, best win-loss percentage in division games, strength of victory in all games, meaning combined record of opponents and wins, best combined ranking among division teams in points scored and points allowed in all games, best combined ranking among all teams in points scored and points allowed in all games, best net points in all games, best net touchdowns in all games. And then if all of that can't break the tie, it'll come down to a coin toss.
Right. So I believe in reading it correctly, but there's a lot there to unpack. I believe it could come down to points, and so I think it's going to be who can run up the score better on the bad teams is going to win this thing. Or if one team loses and one wins, it's easy, right? But I think if they both win, it's going to come down to that because both the Vipers and the Guardians are both at the very bottom. I mean, the Sea Dragons will be playing a slightly better team in the Vipers and the Guardians, but the Guardians did beat DC, so I think that increased their where the Vipers didn't, right? So strength of schedule I think will end up being pretty even, so I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to points, but it'll be interesting to see those 2 games. It'll be the first game and the last game of week 10. Our game versus San Antonio doesn't mean a whole lot other than the fact that if San Antonio wins and the Renegades lose, then they might be in a situation very similar where they will have the same record. So basically San Antonio has something to play for, assuming that the Roughnecks take care of business, although they don't have a whole lot to play for themselves. it's going to be interesting to see what should we do as a team. So I'll bring this up to Carol, because I talked a little bit of it Champ last week. But Carol, do you think we play more King, our normal or secondary quarterback, even though there is like a 1A, 1B, and you rest your primary quarterback a little bit? Because there's nothing really positive for the defenders. The other team has something to play for. But whether we end up 8-2 or 9-1 doesn't really change anything for us. Do you go all out, or do you rest some of your starters and let some of the people that are lower in the depth chart get a little bit more reps in case we need them in the playoffs if someone goes down for an injury?
After talking with the coach a couple of weeks ago, still working on, coordinate schedules to get the interview. Might wait till after they win the championship, but who knows? But talking to the coach, to his personality and the way he thinks, I don't see any let up. I don't see any resting any players. I see them practicing hard like they do, going out there executing. They lost to the worst team in the league a couple of weeks ago. One thing I mentioned to him, possible undefeated season. That's what they were shooting for. It was good they took a loss early. Well, not early in the season, but early in this run to, get them back refocused. And I feel like, he's going to come out there and have them, in regular season mode, get ready to go to the playoffs. Come third, fourth quarter, depending on where the score is at or how things are going, he might put some of the other guys in to get them some reps that might not have got any. But they rotate a lot and, interchange players a lot. So I don't really see it as big of an issue as in the NFL where the starters are the starters and the guys behind them don't really get reps or get in there. They all get rotated in, so they all.
I'm just wondering, do you rotate King in more than you have the last couple of weeks? Because he's been in, but he's not, taking.
Well, I feel like he played more in the second half than he did the first half. Because I didn't even. I thought that Jordan was hurt because I saw how much they had him in there, but it was just that they, decided to switch it up. So I feel like that was his, warming back up because he's tied for the league in rushing TDs, even in the limited time that he's been there at quarterback. And when he has had to throw the ball, he's been effective. So he's a very interesting dual threat.
That's kind of a good change of pace quarterback in the second half, right? When the team's defense is a little bit more gassed and you're going to run it a little bit more, bring out the running quarterback a little bit more. It's kind of, switch up.
Well, you also got to look at it. Jordan's leading the league at rushing at the quarterback. King just has the touchdowns. So they both are effective. You got the top running back in the league, which Champ was talking about, that they held down the running game. But when you have the top rushing attack, they're going to drop 8 in the box, sometimes 9, and dare you to run. So the good thing is, like he said, we've seen Lucky Jackson take some steps, take some strides consistently, catching touchdowns. I think it was 4 games in a row. What's the other guy's name? Blair. He's their deep play threat. He gets loose. It causes problem for the defense. And, they're going to be a hard team to stop with that running threat if they drop it 8 in the box, 9 in the box, and you still have these receivers on the outside making plays and, breaking things wide open. That's going to be very frustrating for a team in the playoffs knowing it's one and done.
Carol, you just mentioned, it's funny you mentioned that because even the announcers pointed that out, that the defenders were such a good running team that the defense was mostly playing 8 in the box, which is why the passing game was so effective, because they were playing 8, 9 in the box, expecting them to use Smith and use the other running back or see the threat from Teamu or from Derek King. And that's what made the passing attack so much more potent, was because of the fact that they were playing a lot of man-on-man matchups and the receivers were actually, making plays for the quarterback.
Yeah, you can go back to the RG3 days with the Commanders. When, that zone read was popping, you had that linebacker has to, pay attention to, even when it's not a zone read play, he still has to kill that quarterback because that option is still there. So that split second that he has to sit there and identify where the ball is, it gives the wide receiver. That's why that quick slant to Pierre Garçon was so deadly back in the day, that it couldn't be stopped, because the threat of the quarterback makes that linebacker have to take that step up and read to see where the ball is at, to see what's going on before he could drop back in coverage. And that second is what gives that window for the slant, and that 10 yards every time, first down. So it's a combination, and it's hard to stop. And if they're good at it and you can't stop it, it's going to be a long day for the defense.
Yeah. Champ, do you see it the same way? Do you want to see some of the lower depth chart players see an earlier, see them earlier in this game?
I kind of feel like, they got to do what they have. The defenders need to do what they have to do because, again, it's not like the NFL playoffs where it's two, maybe 3 games before the big championship. It's 1 game and then the big championship. So they have to be very smart with with their strategy. Yes, they want to protect players, hope, and they'll get them hurt when it comes down to the division championship game, or going into the division game, but I feel like they'd also want to have that momentum going into that game, especially wondering if they're going to play either Seattle or St. Louis, 2 teams who they're very familiar with, right? And so they got to be very, very cognizant of having that momentum and being ready for that game because they're familiar with both of those teams, but they don't want to come in and have their number ones be cold. But at the same time, you don't want your number ones to get hurt and then they don't play this game and you have those behind them that have not really played in a high pressure game like this be in that situation. So it's really a hard balance, but I think Coach Barlow will know what to do here. He's got a good coaching staff. I think they'll figure it out and they'll make the right choice when it comes down to this final game.
It's interesting that we only played the Guardians once, right? 'Cause I thought you played every team in your division twice because we played the other 2 teams twice, but I guess that's just how it shapes out to make 10 games. But I just thought that was interesting because, like in most sports, you play everybody in your division the same number of times or, similar. So I was kind of surprised that I guess we never played the Guardians here in DC. But yeah, it's been an interesting season, up and down. It's been really fun to watch a more complete XFL season. It was a bummer when the other one started off so well, but we didn't get to see it continue because of COVID. But yeah, it's gonna be some interesting matchups these last week. Again, the semifinal game. So the game at the Roughnecks will be the Saturday at oh, did they change it? That's interesting. We were gonna have the Saturday game before, right?
I couldn't remember.
And now it says we're on the Sunday game.
Well, I mean, listen, we're the lone team and we're the one team in the whole league that has the 1 loss. So I would expect us to have the spotlight game on ESPN on Sunday.
Yeah, you're
Because
right.
because you were right. You're right. We did have the Saturday game originally, but because of the fact that we're the best team pretty much in the XFL, why not give us a Sunday game, the spotlight game, to close out the weekend?
Yeah, that's interesting. It does potentially change things. I mean, we were talking about going to a Saturday night game, but in some ways that could be more fun to go to a Sunday 3:00 game. I wouldn't necessarily hate that either. So just it's different than was originally posted by the XFL. I'm just seeing this now on ESPN, and ESPN is the official partner of the XFL. So I assume that on their app that they would be right. But
yeah, that's the last game of the season. They're away anyway, so who cares?
No, I'm talking about the finals.
Are you talking about the game that they're hosting? Or
Yeah,
you
they
mean the
moved
final
it.
game?
Yeah, I'm talking about the final game, the hosting game.
Oh, okay. So it's supposed to be Sunday now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the North Division Championship game is now Sunday at 3 p.m. in DC on
yeah.
ESPN.
All right, I'll put the word out and see if we can wrangle some tickets in 2 weeks. We already put the bug in the ear and see what we can make happen. It was, like I said, the seats we had this past week were pretty damn good. So we're going to see what it do. See if I can get you guys in there. I have to talk to my lady because it's her connect. So I'm a bargain hard for you guys.
We appreciate that. So anyway, so sort of breaking news that they switched it to Sunday. Cause I swear we looked a couple of weeks ago and they had that flipped. So it was always going to be the North Division Championship on Saturday and the South on Sunday. But I think that was when they thought the Texas teams would be the best teams, right? Because it's a Texas league. And then they decided, hey, there's this team in DC. And even The Rock was tweeting about us, saying that, we bring it and we're selling out and, good looks. And so I appreciate that we've gotten the love from The Rock, who's the
People's champ, baby. People's champ recognizes the best team in the XFL.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, they got the rowdiest fans, and I was there firsthand. These folks love their football.
Yeah, that's exciting. So then the Roughnecks will play their game on Saturday at 7, then on the 29th. And so we'll look ahead to that next week. and we'll know our who we're playing against. So I think that we've covered it all. But Champ, I just wanted to give you any final thoughts you have before we let you get out of here. Any final thoughts going into the final week, or any XFL thoughts in general?
They just need to just press forward. They got the Brahmas, the final regular season game on the road. They just got to keep doing what they're doing. These teams are now pretty much like locked in on them on the run game. As long as Jordan Ta'amu and De'Aaron King can continue to throw the ball well and be that dual threat, this team will finish the season with just the one loss and really put everybody on notice. But that's what they got to do. They just got to put it together. The Brahmas are 3-6, so that should be a win. But we thought that with Orlando, we saw what happened there. So they got to just put it together. That's all they got to do. Just put it together.
Yeah. I kind of changed my opinion. Before I was like kind of rest everybody and just that, but in talking to you guys, it makes a lot of sense to carry that momentum forward. Especially, it's not a long playoff, so you don't really need to save yourself in the same way that you have to if it's 4 or 5 weeks or whatever the NFL is to make it to the championship. The other thing is this is in San Antonio, and I want to remind people the championship game is in San Antonio. So this could be like a walkthrough mentally for them, understand the arena, understand the field, and play on that field where the championship is going to be. And so like if they can mentally walk through that and try to be the best that they can and say, hey, we're going to come back in a couple of weeks to this spot and we're going to finish business and really try to gain as much information, because playing at the Alamo Dome is a different experience than playing at Audi Field. It's a much bigger, space, cavernous. It's a dome. It's it'll be interesting to see how full it is. It'll definitely be less full for this game than it potentially will be in a couple of weeks if we make it there. But I think that you can, for a lot of sports psychologists, they always talk about visualizing stuff. And I think this could be a huge moment for them to try to help visualize, coming back there and taking care of business. And so I kind of agree with you guys to take this as kind of a dress rehearsal, if you will, for the championship game. So I think that could be important. All right, Champ. Well, let us know real quickly before we let you go, what's happening on the No Spots podcast this week.
All right. So this week on No Spots, I will be here on the show to talk about my time at the entertainment and sports arena for New Japan Pro Wrestling's Capital Collision. We may have Sage join us because I was there with him and his lovely lady, and we had an absolute blast for that event. So we'll talk about that, as well as Impact Rebellion, which was on Sunday night, which saw the 2 top championships in Impact be awarded to new champions after they were vacated due to injury. So we'll talk about that, as well as what's going on this week as well in wrestling. So that'll be streaming live on twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod at our regularly scheduled day and time, Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the audio going up the very next day on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Make sure you check out the podcast partners button on sportsothp.com for that and all of our previous episodes, as this will be episode 200.
Wow, that's so cool. I just dropped some of your emails. Somebody was nice and gifted me subscription to you guys.
Yeah, that was my good friend Ice Cold Chica, who came in while I was live reacting to the Rebellion and dropped 10, and you were one of the 10 that got it. So God bless her for doing that.
That's awesome. So I always love the love to be shared to DC's People's Champ and also to Seth as well. So I appreciate both of you guys for continuing on this True Radio Network with us. And congratulations on 200 episodes. And we'll talk to you next week about the XFL and all sorts of stuff. And Champ, I appreciate you always for modeling and being a part of the podcast team. I hope that you have a fantastic week. I'm happy that you got to go to some live wrestling. I hope that it was a great one and people should tune in to hear your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun, but y'all have a great night. Carol, it's always great to see you, my brother. No Kigenyo, sayonara.
All right, brother. Holler at you later on, man. Appreciate it as always.
All right. So we're going to switch to some baseball talk. Oops, it's the basketball one. This is the baseball one. And just people know, scoring update, the Stars game is being played against the Wild. Right now, the Wild are up 1-0 at the end of the first period in that. I'm going to go to the restroom real quick, refill my water. But Carol, break down the last week for the Nats, and I'll be right back.
All right, will do. It was a 2-4 week for the Nationals. Still trying to find their way. A lot of young bats, a lot of pitching. They're trying to figure out. Bullpen hasn't been as strong, but we knew that coming into the season. Last week they had 2 series, one against the Los Angeles Angels and our good friend Tony Two Bags. And the funny thing was the one game that they won was the game that he didn't play, which was the first game of the series. They lost that series 1-2. Then they came back home to face the Cleveland Guardians and unfortunately lost 2 out of 3 to them also, hence the 2-4 record. It's just frustrating sometimes watching the team when you know they can do better and play, hoping they can do better and play better, but then they find a way, or the other team find a way to take advantage of a mistake that they've made or bad pitching or whatever the case may be. And unfortunately, that's how this season has played out so far for the Nats. And I'm going to try to share to some Nats groups while I'm talking, because that's what we do. And hopefully there are some National fans out there still riding with this team. You know, it was only 4 short years ago, won a World Series. But yet some folks want to, you know, throw this team under the bus ASAP. It takes time, you know, took them a while to win. We endured the 100 lost seasons and such. Now we got to go back to the rebuilding phase, unfortunately. All right. I shared to some of the groups. I'll share to some later on. Started out the series with a 6-4 win over the Angels. They had 14 hits that game, which was a season high. Patrick Corbin earned the first victory of the season, put him at 1-2. He went 5 innings, giving up 7 hits, 4 runs with 3 strikeouts and 3 walks. Tucker Davidson took the loss for the Angels. That dropped him to 0-1. He went 3 innings, giving up 4 hits, 2 runs with 3 strikeouts and no walks. And Finnegan earned the second save of the season for the Nats. He went 1 inning, giving up no hits, no runs, with 1 strikeout and no walks. Top of the second, C.J. Abrams had a RBI single, making it 2-1. The top of the fourth, Lane Thomas had an RBI single, scoring 1, making it 3-3. I mean, 3-3. Then I'm not even going to try to pronounce his first name. Candelero had a 2-run RBI single, making it 5-3. No, my math is off. Top of the fifth, Abrams had a fielder's choice RBI. At the top of the seventh, Robles had a fielder's choice RBI. I couldn't even read my hand right, which made it a 6-4 score. Nationals win. Second game was a 2-0 shutout loss. Ohtani put together a strong outing, going 7 innings, giving up 1 hit, no runs, with 6 strikeouts and 5 walks. That put him at 2-0. Josiah Gray dropped to 0-3. Unfortunately, he can't get any run support to start the season. He's went 5 2/3, giving up 4 hits, 2 runs with 3 strikeouts and 2 walks. And Carlos Estevez earned the save. That was his first of the season, going 1 inning with no hits, no walks, strikeouts. No hits, no runs, no strikeouts with 1 walk. And to wrap up the series, it was a 3-2 loss by the Nats. They were up 2-1 going into the fourth. After the top of the fourth, but unfortunately couldn't get any more runs. Bullpen let them down at the bottom of the 6th and gave up the lead run to make it 3-2. And unfortunately, the Nats couldn't come back from that. Winning pitcher Matt Moore put him at 1-0. He went 1 inning, giving up no runs, hits, strikeouts, or walks. Mason Thomas took the loss, drops him to 0-1. He went 1 2/3, giving up 3 hits, 1 run, 1 strikeout, and 1 walk. And Jose Cadilla earned his second save. He went 1 inning, giving up no hits, no runs, and 1 strikeout, and no walks. The top of the fourth, Joey Meneses had an RBI single. And I cannot read my handwriting. I wrote that too fast. Oh, Garcia. Jeez, I keep on forgetting about Luis Garcia. Luis Garcia had a ground out RBI to make it 2-0 in the top of the fourth, and the Angels scored in the bottom of the fourth and scored again in the 6-2, take the lead and win the game, and winning the series 2-1. Then after that, the Nats came home to face the Cleveland Guardians. First game was a 4-3 loss. Walks by the bullpen contributed to the loss. There, I believe, were 6 walks in the game, and that's what kind of changed the momentum of the game and gave Cleveland the lead. And unfortunately, the Nats weren't able to get any run support to combat that one run that got walked. That was unearned by the pitcher because it was walked in. Carl Edwards took the loss. That drops him to 0-1. 1 in a third, giving a 1 hit, 1 run. The run wasn't earned. Like I said, it was an inherited runner from the previous pitcher. 1 strikeout, and he had 2 walks also. Trevor Stephan got the win for Cleveland, puts him at 1-0. He went 1 inning, giving up no runs, no strikeouts with a walk. And Emmanuel Claus, or Clays, I don't know, doesn't look like Claus, but it's spelled that way. With his 4th save, he went 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, no runs, 1 strikeout, and no walks. Bottom of the 4th, Luis Garcia had a solo home run, making it 1-0, and Alex Call had a 2-run RBI single, making it 3-0. But like I said, unfortunately, bullpen gave up some walks and gave up some hits and some runs for an answer, to be exact, to make it a 4-3 loss for the Nats. Second game was a 6-4 loss. The Nats had a 3-0 lead after the first. It was tied up at 3-3 in the fourth, and unfortunately, the Nats couldn't get any muster enough offense to counter Cleveland. Cleveland took the lead in the fifth, 5-3, and held on to win 6-4. Zach Plesac earned his first victory of the season, putting him at 1-0. He went 5 innings, giving up 7 hits, 4 runs. 2 of those earned with 1 strikeout and no walks. Chad Kuhl earned the loss, drops him to 0-1. He went 4 2/3, giving up 7 hits, 5 runs, 2 strikeouts, and 3 walks. And Emmanuel Claus earned his 5th save, going 1 inning with no hits, no runs, no strikeouts, or walks. Bottom of the first, Joey Meneses had an RBI single, making it 1-0. Candelero, I'm not even gonna try to do his first name. I was gonna try, but I thought about it and said no. He had an RBI double, making it 2-0. Keibert Ruiz had an RBI single, making it 3-0. That was all in the bottom of the first, as I mentioned. In the bottom of the fourth, Ruiz had an RBI double, which made it 5-4 Cleveland, and they tacked on another run, I believe, in the 8th to make it a 6-4 loss for the Nationals. And yesterday, they were able to salvage 1 game out of the 3 and win in kind of dramatic fashion, 7-6. It was a review call in the 8th inning when the game was 6-5 with the Nats trying to come back. That was awarded to the Nats after it was a blocking the plate play where the runner clearly would have been safe if the catcher didn't block the plate, and they had to review it. They did, got the run to tie the game at 6-all, and then got the go-ahead run to make it a 7-6 game to win the game for the Nationals. Mason Thompson earned his first victory, puts him at 1-1. Even 1 inning, giving up 1 hit, no runs, strikeouts, or walks. Sandin took the loss for Cleveland. That dropped him to 1-1. He went 2/3 of an inning, giving up 1 hit, 2 runs, no strikeouts, and 1 walk. And Kyle Finnegan earned his 3rd save of the season, going 1 inning with 1 hit, no runs, 1 strikeout, and no walks. And to recap the scoring. Had to use 2 pages this week. Bottom of the first, Candelero had an RBI single, making it 1-0. Bottom of the second, Lane Thomas had an RBI double, making it 2-0. Bottom of the third, Candelero had a solo home run, making it 4-3. Bottom of the seventh, Garcia had a 2-run home run after Candelero had another good hit to get on base. I watched that at bat. I think it was like an 18 pitch at bat where he scrapped and finally got the right pitch, got on base, and Luis Garcia had a 2-run home run, making it a 6-5 game. As I mentioned, Lane Thomas had the sacrifice fly that was reviewed, that was awarded to the Nats for the catcher was blocking the plate, which made it 6-6. And right after that, Joey Meneses had an RBI single, making it 7-6 and keeping the lead for the Nats and at least winning 1 out of 3 versus this team. They are now currently sit 5-11. They have interleague play this week where they have Baltimore Orioles at home Tuesday and Wednesday. Both are 7:05 starts. And then they go to Minnesota for a Friday, Saturday, Sunday matchup. Friday is an 8:10 start. Saturday and Sunday is a 2:10 p.m. start. So hopefully the Nats can get some winning ways and maybe at least go 500 this week instead of under 500 and try to get closer with these 6 games under 500 to start the season out right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the battle of the Beltway, as they say. I think Tim is going to a game. Or I know that he wanted to. And those are always interesting matchups. Baltimore's doing at least better than DC is, at least in the early part of the season. They are 9-7. The Nats are 5-11 right now. So it should be an interesting week for the Nationals, playing the 2 games against Baltimore, and then the 3 games against Minnesota. So we'll have a bunch that we'll break down next week. I know that the schedule and who's going to be on and off is sort of up in the air as these next couple of weeks, as Carol is making shifts and stuff like that. So we'll definitely go over the scores, whether or not we'll go as in depth as Carol just did. We'll just sort of see who can be on. But I appreciate, Carol, you breaking it down for us, especially. I missed a lot of those games, covering a lot of different things in the last week. Yeah, it's an interesting time winding down the season, especially not having the Wizards or the Capitals in the playoffs this year. It's a little bit strange, but I am excited that we get to talk XFL and a little bit of the Nats. And hopefully they're able to turn it around and get some players in there and make some moves. But it's been a rough start for sure for the Nats, and I am happy that they were able to salvage 2 wins, but we really wanted them to salvage 4 or find a way to come up with 4 out of these out of these 6. And so it's a little bit of a disappointing week for sure. So we'll see if we can do a little bit better against Baltimore and Minnesota.
And everything could change with Strasburg. If he gets healthy and come back to the lineup, that's one stronger pitcher that we need, because that's been the issue. Inconsistent pitching, as always. Pitching is key in baseball, and if we can get him back healthy and at least pitching in the rotation, that's going to help the team in numerous ways.
For sure. All right. Well, any final thoughts on the Nats before we sort of switch and talk? Bring in Arun. Talk a little.
No, it's pretty much just going to wait and see. And a quick segue for the basketball talk. The first playoff matchup of the night already is concluded. The 76ers beat the Nets 96-84. And I just saw the Kings-Warriors game with went to timeout. The Warriors were up by a few, but it looked like the Kings, they went on the run. Now they're up 30-27, and Curtis took a timeout. Just a quick segue before y'all go in there. I was watching the first game and I see that the Kings are a 3 seed and the Warriors are a 6 seed. But the fact that it took all that will for them to beat them in the first game, I still got faith in my Warriors that they're going to pull this out.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. So, well, Arun, you can feel free to jump on. I don't know. Do I have the Wizards logo? I don't know if I have a general. Been a while. Let me see. I had an NBA logo at one point for the NBA playoffs, but we've done so many different things over the years. But let me see real quick if I can grab an NBA logo and throw that up real fast. But Arun, while I'm doing that, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. You sound good.
Okay. Yeah, not doing bad.
Oh, whoops, that's not work. Doing that. Way too big. Trying to grab just a small logo and it ended up becoming huge. So weird. All right, let me we're just gonna put up the Wizards logo. I don't really know if I care enough. To all right, we're just gonna put up a Wizards logo. People know we're talking about the NBA playoffs because the Wizards didn't make the playoffs. So it's been an interesting matchup. Let me see if I can share my screen if that will work. Here, switch, and this exit. Hopefully, Carol is still with us because I'll need him to fix it on his end. Probably.
I'm here. I just turned my camera off.
Okay. Yeah, you're gonna have to probably set your or click the escape button or whatever. Let me. Okay, there we go. All right, I think we're live now. We've got all of my graphics